Humanity had reached the apex of its strength, and the Terran Federation stood as an unchallenged force across dozens of star systems. Entire fleets glimmered against the void, sleek vessels built with the latest quantum drives, adaptive shields, and weapons that could obliterate entire enemy squadrons before they registered a threat. In every starport, the hum of production spoke of endless ambition. Every command center radiated efficiency and absolute control. Humans were confident, bordering on arrogance, convinced that nothing in the galaxy could match their technological mastery. From planetary governors to fleet admirals, every voice carried the same refrain: the universe had no equal to Terran ingenuity, discipline, and willpower. Propaganda bolstered this certainty. Hollow broadcasts celebrated the triumphs of human engineers who tamed impossible environments, scientists who decoded alien signals before anyone else, and soldiers who returned from skirmishes against fringe civilizations unscathed. Humanity's colonies had spread like constellations of fire, each world a testament to engineering marvels, strategic brilliance, and relentless determination. Citizens spoke with pride, often dismissively, about other species, curious and unpredictable, yes, but ultimately inconsequential in comparison. Humans did not simply conquer space. They commanded it, and everyone within the Federation believed this truth irrevocably. Commanders convened in austere briefing halls aboard orbiting citadels, surrounded by glowing strategic maps of the galaxy. They spoke with certainty, outlining operations with precise calculations, every maneuver mapped and every contingency accounted for. They dismissed intelligence reports that hinted at anomalous signals in the outer sectors, considering them misreads or technological noise. The officers' confidence was contagious. Every fleet drill, every battle simulation, reinforced the idea that no force could breach human defenses, no alien strategy could outthink them, and no contingency could surprise them. Hubris had become part of the military doctrine. Even within the lower ranks, whispers of caution were quickly overshadowed by institutional pride. Young pilots, engineers, and strategists absorbed the same sense of invincibility, believing their skill, training, and technology rendered them untouchable. There was no fear, only certainty. There was no doubt, only action. Every human mind seemed synchronized in a shared conviction: the galaxy had been tamed, and humanity was its ruler. Yet subtle anomalies persisted at the edge of human awareness. Sensors occasionally recorded faint energy readings of unknown origin. Scouts reported fleeting shadows beyond the mapped territories. Analysts filed these as curiosities, noting them with detached professionalism before discarding the need for immediate attention. These minor inconsistencies, almost imperceptible, were dismissed as inconsequential. No one considered the possibility that they signaled a threat capable of challenging Terran's supremacy. Humanity's gaze remained fixed firmly on the systems it controlled, blind to the shadows gathering beyond familiar stars. In this environment of absolute confidence, the Terran Federation prepared to deploy its fleets deeper into the galaxy, believing that every mission would reinforce its dominance. Supplies were loaded, warships polished, and crews briefed in meticulous detail, all under the unshakable assumption that victory was inevitable. There was no fear of failure, only an unspoken expectation of flawless execution. Humans did not just anticipate success, they assumed it, their minds and machines aligned in perfect harmony. This unyielding certainty masked the universe's vast unpredictability. While humans celebrated their supremacy, they could not see that the galaxy itself had begun to shift. Forces beyond their understanding moved quietly, observing, calculating, and waiting. Humanity's greatest strength, its pride, would soon become the opening through which the unknown would enter. And yet, in this moment, the Terran Federation remained utterly convinced of its untouchable nature, unaware that the first tremors of change were already stirring across the stars. Across the edges of mapped space, anomalies began to emerge that did not fit any Terran pattern. At first, they were subtle, faint energy fluctuations, signals with rhythms that defied analysis, ships vanishing briefly from sensors only to reappear in unexpected positions. The Federation's intelligence network, vast and sophisticated, initially cataloged these as minor glitches, statistical noise, or natural phenomena. Yet the anomalies persisted and multiplied, each instance more precise, coordinated, and deliberate than the last. Something beyond human understanding was maneuvering, and the first glimmers of danger rippled across the farthest outposts. The alien presence revealed itself incrementally, almost teasing humanity with its capabilities. Initial encounters were brief and contained, small vessels detected in remote sectors, moving in patterns that seemed erratic yet purposeful. Terran officers interpreted them as primitive scouts, underestimating the intelligence behind the movements. Human analysts, relying on decades of experience, quickly dismissed reports suggesting strategic coordination among these ships. Their technology was unlike anything catalogued: craft that warped energy fields unpredictably, communication methods that left sensors guessing, and propulsion systems that defied conventional physics. Every assessment that attempted to measure their power fell short. Exploratory probes sent to gather more data encountered interference almost immediately. Transmission logs became garbled, instruments reported readings that contradicted one another, and probes occasionally returned damage beyond explanation. Every failed attempt to understand the anomaly reinforced the Federation's arrogance, as commanders rationalized each loss as an equipment malfunction or operator error. Even as anomalies accumulated, humans clung to the belief that these disturbances were inconsequential, irrelevant to the might of the Terran fleet. Subtle strategies of the alien presence began to reveal their depth. They moved not as individuals but as a synchronized entity, responding to Terran observation with unexpected agility. Ships that appeared in one sector vanished and simultaneously appeared in another, never following predictable trajectories. Scans of their energy signatures indicated rapid adaptation to any detection methods, suggesting a level of foresight that humans had never faced. It became increasingly clear that this was no random species but an intelligent, calculating force, one that studied human tactics and adjusted almost instantaneously. Despite growing evidence, pride blinded the Federation. Analysts who attempted to warn of coordinated intelligence faced dismissal or ridicule. Fleet admirals continued to plan deployments with the assumption of superiority, believing that overwhelming firepower and superior technology would guarantee immediate victory. Any deviation from this assumption was considered paranoia or incompetence. Even on planets closest to these anomalies, settlers spoke dismissively of strange phenomena in the void, confident in the unassailable protection of human fleets. The galaxy, in the eyes of the Terran Federation, remained theirs to command. Then came the first probe skirmishes. Minor clashes occurred far from populated sectors, where humans encountered alien vessels for the first time in combat. The ships were not numerous, yet each engagement left humans unsettled. Conventional weapons that would normally disable any craft of similar size were ineffective or absorbed by unknown shielding. Alien tactics were counterintuitive. Instead of direct confrontation, they focused on probing defenses, testing reactions, and withdrawing before the humans could mount a proper response. Each retreat was calculated, leaving humans frustrated yet confident that they could eventually destroy the intruders once a proper fleet was deployed. As intelligence networks scrambled to reconcile these encounters, the Federation's hubris remained intact. Reports of unusual alien activity continued to rise, but the prevailing interpretation framed them as anomalies easily handled by a full-scale deployment. No one considered that the alien force might already possess strategic knowledge surpassing human capabilities. The galaxy outside Terran-controlled systems had begun to stir, and while humans remained blind in their certainty, the first faint outlines of a threat that could challenge their dominance were already shaping in the shadows. Humanity's perceived untouchability was on the verge of being tested, and the universe itself seemed to be watching, silent but deliberate. The Terran Federation launched its fleet in full confidence, certain that the galaxy's edge would bow to human power. Massive ships, armed with quantum cannons and adaptive shields, moved as a single, disciplined entity, every officer trained to execute orders without hesitation. Every calculation had been double-checked, every strategy rehearsed, and every assumption reinforced. The enemy was negligible, the victory inevitable. Pride guided each command, and the belief in untouchability was absolute. Yet the first moments of engagement shattered certainty. Alien forces emerged with precision that humans could not predict. Their ships flowed through the void with unnatural coordination, slipping between patrol routes, bypassing sensor grids, and striking in sudden bursts. Terran scanners, built to detect fleets across light years, struggled to maintain contact. Weapons fired with unerring accuracy at empty space, while the true targets appeared elsewhere, executing attacks with simultaneous unpredictability and deliberate strategy. Human crews were trained for discipline and repetition, but the aliens defied all conventional patterns, rendering Terran's superiority ineffective. The first Terran squadrons were annihilated within minutes. Commanders recalculated in panic, issuing new orders that were already obsolete the instant they were given. Ships that had been designed to withstand the heaviest bombardments collapsed under precision strikes that bypassed armor, overloaded shields, or exploited unrecognized vulnerabilities. Communication links faltered as relays were disabled faster than repair teams could respond, and chaos spread across the fleet. Confidence turned to disbelief, and disbelief dissolved into fear. Despite overwhelming firepower, the Federation realized that its assumptions had been catastrophically flawed. Alien tactics were not only adaptive but preemptive, anticipating human maneuvers with alarming accuracy. Every countermeasure deployed was met with a counter to the counter, and strategies designed to crush the enemy before they could regroup were rendered useless. The fleet, once a symbol of invincibility, became a fragmented collection of desperate units struggling to survive. Terran officers faced decisions with no precedent, forced to improvise under pressure their training had never prepared them for. Losses mounted rapidly. Entire squadrons vanished, swallowed by the void before support could arrive. Repair crews worked frantically, but every fix was immediately countered by alien ingenuity. Tacticians watched the map of battle zones shrink with each passing moment, the constellations of human power dimming as ships fell. Yet even in this collapse, the human spirit refused surrender. Small units found ways to regroup, communication lines were re-established through ingenuity, and individual crews displayed improvisation and courage that no simulation could replicate. Commanders, once arrogant in their certainty, confronted the unthinkable. The galaxy was not theirs to command. Pride gave way to humility, and every assumption was questioned. Fleet strategies shifted from domination to survival, from offense to adaptation. The first real understanding took hold. Humans were formidable, yes, but far from invincible. Every officer and crew member had to confront the terrifying truth that even the apex species could be tested and found wanting. Amid the chaos, humanity's resilience emerged. Pilots coordinated last-minute evasive maneuvers, engineers repurposed damaged weaponry, and strategists began to identify patterns in the alien tactics. For the first time, Terrans were forced to see the enemy as equals, calculating, intelligent, and capable of outthinking them. Each small survival became a lesson, each counterattack a spark of hope. The fall was not complete, but the illusion of untouchability had been shattered. Pride, once absolute, had been tempered by experience, and the first true step toward ingenuity and adaptation began in the crucible of defeat. Humanity refused to remain broken. The losses of the initial engagement had exposed flaws, but they had also revealed opportunities. Terran engineers and strategists worked relentlessly, dissecting alien technology captured in fragments, analyzing energy patterns, and reconstructing maneuvers from battle data. Every anomaly, every unexpected strike, became a lesson. Humans adapted at a pace no one had anticipated, turning despair into innovation, and improvisation into strategy. What the enemy assumed was chaos became a catalyst for human ingenuity. Small units began experimenting with unconventional tactics. Fleets were split into unpredictable formations, utilizing decoys, false signals, and feints designed to exploit alien anticipation. Engineers modified weapons on the fly, combining energy types, adjusting firing sequences, and integrating alien tech with human systems. Ships once considered obsolete were refitted with adaptive shielding and enhanced sensors, transforming them into flexible tools of retaliation. Every action was calculated, but nothing followed the rigid patterns the enemy had learned to exploit. The turning point came when human intelligence uncovered the aliens' core behavior. Their attacks were guided by observation and rapid adaptation, but they relied on predictive algorithms that assumed certain responses. Humans began exploiting this, introducing deliberate errors into their maneuvers, misleading alien systems into overextending or misaligning attacks. Terran pilots learned to anticipate alien counters to their counters, creating a feedback loop of human ingenuity that the aliens could not immediately correct. Every engagement became a test of creativity, speed, and nerve, and humans excelled. Engineers, once confined to repair docks and laboratories, emerged as critical players in the fight. Improvised solutions, rapid recalibration of shields, and adaptive weaponry became the backbone of human resilience. Strategists analyzed every minor success, replicating and amplifying tactics across fleets. Communication networks were refined to transmit encrypted commands in near real time, allowing fleets to act with coordination that no alien observer could predict. The battlefield transformed from a static confrontation into a dynamic contest of intellect and creativity. Small victories snowballed. First, isolated alien vessels were destroyed through ambushes that exploited gaps in their coordination. Then, minor outposts previously threatened were secured, using combined fleet and colony defenses. Each success, while tactical, carried profound psychological weight. Humans realized that defeat was not inevitable. Confidence returned, tempered by humility, and a new doctrine emerged: adaptability, ingenuity, and courage could overcome even the most sophisticated adversary. By the time the Terran Federation launched its counteroffensive, humanity was no longer reacting. It was dictating the terms of engagement. Fleet movements became unpredictable, weapon systems dynamically reconfigured mid-battle, and alien forces found themselves outmaneuvered by a species they had underestimated. Every victory reinforced a deeper truth: humans thrived not because of technology alone, but because of their ability to think, adapt, and innovate under pressure. Humanity's greatest strength, the mind, unyielding and creative, was now the decisive weapon. The turning point was not dramatic in the way humans had imagined victories in simulations. There was no singular explosion of triumph, no singular moment of revelation. Instead, it was cumulative: the gradual reclamation of space, the preservation of fleets, the careful exploitation of alien vulnerabilities, and the relentless application of human creativity. Each maneuver was precise, each adaptation clever, and each victory proof of resilience. Humanity had learned, grown, and evolved in the crucible of its near destruction. In reclaiming the initiative, humans rediscovered their place among the stars, not as invincible conquerors, but as brilliant, adaptable, indomitable survivors. The Federation's fleets moved with a combination of discipline, improvisation, and intuition that no alien force had anticipated. Every action reflected the core of humanity itself: relentless, resourceful, fearless. What had begun as a struggle for survival had transformed into a demonstration of the species' ingenuity, proving that even in the darkest moments, humans could strike back stronger, smarter, and faster than any adversary. The galaxy had shifted. The Terran Federation, once battered and humbled, now moved with clarity born of hard-won experience. The Terran Federation, once battered and humbled, deployment now moved with clarity born of hard-won strategy reflected lessons learned under fire. Every fleet deployment, every humans repair, no longer every adaptive strategy reflected lessons learned under fire. Ingenuity. Humans no longer assumed dominance. Where hubris had once blinded intellect, discipline, and creativity now guided every action. Where hubris had once blinded not from overwhelming force alone, and creativity but from a species that refused to surrender. The victories came not from overwhelming force alone, alien forces, but from a species that refused to surrender to circumstance. Were gradually countered with a combination of strategy once and unpredictable and overwhelming. Humans anticipated were gradually countered with a combination exploiting of previously unnoticed weaknesses and using misdirection to force their maneuvers. Exploiting previously unnoticed coordinated strikes, using misdirection leveraging adaptive weaponry and real-time recalibration. Coordinated strikes. Engineers worked leveraging adaptive weaponry, integrating alien technology into human systems, Engineers forming captured mechanisms integrating alien technology into human systems. Each action was precise, captured mechanisms into powerful tools, a reflection of human determination. Each action was adaptability, effective, morale and soared across the Federation. A reflection of human determination, commanders, and engineers who had witnessed fleets across the Federation. Systems crumble now. Pilots, took pride in the recovery, and engineers who had witnessed was measured not only in destroyed enemy vessels but in preserved colonies. Recovered resources was measured not only in destroyed enemy vessels but in preserved colonies. Each victory reinforced the collective identity and the survival humanity of was more than the sum of its weapons. Each victory reinforced the collective identity. It was a species capable humanity of learning, was more than the sum of its weapons, overcoming challenges that no simulation or training could prepare them for. Evolving, the final overcoming challenges that no simulation or training could prepare them for. Confronted with humans operating unpredictably and relentlessly. Began alien fleets, confronted where they had once operating with surgical precision and relentlessly, they now faltered under constant adaptation. Where they had once struck with surgical precision across vast distances, they now faltered under constant using ingenuity to create traps. Terran forces coordinated across vast distances. Using ingenuity to create traps, replenished energy reserves, and tactical pressure and reconfigured systems in response to real-time threats. Replenished energy every strike demonstrated that humans were no longer reacting to real-time They were defining the terms of conflict. Every strike demonstrated beyond that humans were no longer reacting. The Federation reflected on the lessons of hubris and near defeat. Beyond mere victory, leadership implemented protocols to prevent on the lessons of hubris and near defeat. Emphasizing intelligence, leadership implemented protocols to prevent the value of listening to every voice, emphasizing regardless of rank. Flexibility, engineers, and the value of listening to every celebrated for their ingenuity, regardless of rank, proving that survival relied as much on minds as on firepower. Celebrated for their ingenuity. The human species, proving that survival relied as much on minds as on adversity into growth. The human humility without once overconfident had transformed adversity into growth, and humanity had passed without losing strength. Colonies the galaxy had tested space thrived in and the humanity had passed with distinction. Rebuilt systems gleamed colonies with renewed infrastructure. Space thrived technological in the advancements accelerated. Rebuilt systems and gleamed with renewed infrastructure. Previous standards. Technological advancements scientific research delved and defenses into alien technologies. Previous standards. Creating innovations that would have been impossible without the trials of alien technologies. Education creating innovations that would have been impossible without the trials of battle. Ensuring that the lessons of survival. Education emphasized both skill and creativity. Part of the core ensuring that the lessons of survival, across adaptation, citizens understood that the Federation's strength lay not only in fleets or weapons but in the enduring. Citizens understood that the Federation's strength lay not only in story of near defeat and ultimate resurgence became a legend spirit of told without exaggeration. The story of near defeat it was a narrative not of invincibility but of resilience told without exaggeration. An unwavering it was a narrative not of invincibility humans but of resilience against an opponent that challenged their assumptions at every turn. Humans they had been tested against an opponent failure that challenged and their emerged victorious because they refused to accept limitation. They had faced the void, faced every individual, and emerged from the lowest technician to the highest admiral to accept limitation. Had contributed to this outcome. Every individual, their combined efforts demonstrated that humanity's defining strength to this was its capacity to overcome. Their combined efforts demonstrated that humanity's defining strength that followed the final battle to overcome. Humans did not boast and prevail. They knew the galaxy was followed the final battles, unpredictable, humans and still full of mysteries. They knew the galaxy they carried was vast, a certainty forged unpredictable, in fire, whatever challenges came next, they would endure. Yet they carried a certainty forged in fire. Humanity was no longer simply untouchable by arrogance. It had become unbreakable through humanity was no longer simply untouchable by arrogance. The Federation had become unbreakable through ingenuity, moved forward not with hubris. But with Federation's fleets, embodying the essence of a species that had stared into the abyss and emerged but with stronger, purpose, wiser, embodying the essence of a species that had stared into the abyss infinite expanse of the stars, wiser, humanity had and more determined than ever. A species resilient, in the infinite expanse of the stars, and undeniably humanity had proven itself. A species resilient, brilliant, and undeniably remarkable.